So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome here in Naples for the second edition of Shipping and the Law in the Recent and Current Markets. Some of the people I can see this morning were already attending to the first edition, starting from President of the Italian Ship Owners, Mr. Paolo D'Amico, and Professor Francesco Berlingieri, who are, if I may say so, among so important and distinguished people of the shipping industry, the symbols of this Shipping and the Law Conference. Last year, my friend Clive Aston said, remembering a conference of more than 20 years ago, that he hoped wouldn't have taken other 20 years to make another one. And thanks to the cooperation of all of you and the support, the precious support of our sponsors, we have been able to give an annual frequency to Shipping and the Law. I think this is very important because when you have an appointment every year, or anyway a periodical appointment, you're also able to check and monitor what has been happening in the period. And so you don't have just a conference that could be successful, but you have a place where you can discuss the items of the industry and address them. Meanwhile, they develop, they change, they create new problems to solve. This year we have the same sessions of last year, but we have also some new sessions. The first one is the one which is going to start just after the introduction of Mr. D'Amico, and regards the infrastructures. Port infrastructures are very important for shipping because the earth is where the shipping starts. Then we will have also another new session which is M&A in shipping. We had ship finance, as we will have this year, but M&A is something which is developing in shipping. Ship owners are obviously very large, but generally they are based on a family-based sort of ownership. So M&A is developing and is a phenomena that I think we will see more and more, and includes also a very hot issues, which is privatizations. In the afternoon we'll have also some new sessions, new topics for sessions, and we will have for the first time a cruise and ferry session. Cruise industry is a bit anti-cyclical in respect of the rest of the shipping, which is not in the best shape, and as well as a short sea trade based on ferries. And this is also a sector that a lot of things are happening. So we are happy to have some of the leaders of this industry. And then also we'll have a new session which is offshore. This is also sort of partly anti-cyclical industry, and we have here one of the world leaders in this sector who is also a sponsor, and as well we have Italian owners and experts of these fields. Actually Saipem is one of the largest company in offshore, as Smith is very important for the services that offers to the industry. So I think we have a very full day. We are starting with a little bit of delay. Unfortunately, Mr. D'Amico will not, like last year be able to attend for all the works because of commitment, so he will leave sometime early this afternoon. We have also Mr. Coccia, who is the past president of Confitarma, and he's chairing a very important session, the financial session. And I think we will bring the witness of this sort of, how do you say, on the road, also when Mr. D'Amico will have left. And the conclusion will be with Mr. Berlingieri, who is certainly the best person for summarizing such a long day. So I ask Mr. Paolo D'Amico to make his address. Thank you to all of you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all of you. First of all, I wish to thank Francesco Saverio Lauro, who has given me the honor and the pleasure to open the works of this forum devoted to shipping and the rules and regulation governing it. For the second year running, Shipping and the Law provides to who operates in this field of sea transport, law and markets, a significant opportunity of exchanging their views on major issues affecting our sector, which by its nature is regulated by many international provisions, which apply to all the aspects of a maritime activity, ranging from navigation, safety, to environmental protection and crew training and to security. Certainly, the major point of reference for the international maritime world is the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, an agency of the United Nations created with a view to regulating sea transport with international standards. It is worth recalling that 90% of international trade is transported by sea. I wish to take this opportunity to recall that last week, for the first time, an important IMO event in the framework of the World Maritime Day was organized by the Italian government, and Confitarma actively participated in the organization, hosting the meeting in Palazzo Colonna, which is our siège. The current secretary, and we have been hosting the current Secretary General Mitropoulos and his designated successor, Mr. Sekimitsu, as well as delegates of 30 IMO countries. That event focused, of course, on piracy, allowed to examine all the aspects inherent in this serious phenomenon, which is tragically limiting the freedom of traffic and movement in a very wide area of fundamental importance for the world economies. It's enough to think that 30% of the oil transported and 20% of all our goods are passing through the Indian Ocean. The IMO conference showed the importance of pooling the forces and coordinating the efforts for all actors involved in the fight against piracy. However, many legal problems also emerged, which must still be solved at national and international levels, such as the need for clear and stringent rules in trials and penalties for the pirates which are captured. Certainly, the first problem to be solved is the identification of an appropriate and operational and legal tools to ensure safety and security to our crews. The issue is very complex and involves the institution of each individual country, as well as international and EU organization, which must adopt rules and provisions in compliance with international law. In Italy, we had some results. The Italian government was one of the first to send military units with the task of monitoring and patrolling the area in front of the Horn of Africa, which was at risk of piracy. Subsequently, Italy participated to the EU Atlanta mission and participates in the NATO missions in the region in line with the UN provisions. Finally, with a view to allowing an active defense of our ships against piracy attacks, last August, what we call Law 130 was enacted, and over the last few weeks, some measures have been finalized to enable military staff to be embarked on Italian ships. And I'm referring to a decree which has been enacted with the Ministry of Defense, Mr. Ignazio La Russa, and the sending by relevant offices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the preventive notice letters to the states bordering on the Indian Ocean identified by the project. This is one of the main problems I think we are really facing now, which basically is the permit from the states bordering the waters to give permission to armed teams to pass through. It looks like private contractors are by far more efficient than the Navy sometimes on this thing, because private contractors are already organized. We are through the process now. The agreement between the Defense Chief of Staff and Confitarma for the proper and legal and operational classification and arrangement of armed security teams on board of the vessels. The Decree 963 of the General Command of Coast Guard, which regulates the technical and administrative procedures pertaining to navigation safety and maritime security. Also, this is a problem in the sense the fact that weapons goes on board of a ship, it implies immediately and automatically a number of rules where you position with weapons, how you keep them. Even if they belong to the armed teams, they have to be kept in a certain way. I mean, I have to say, I passed through this experience as first person. I have to say it's been quite an exercise. I mean, I didn't realize that before. And all this is carried out on the basis of interministerial agreements involving the foreign affairs, defense, international affairs, and transport ministers. Hence, the legal and regulatory aspects of this process are very complex, but the results reached are the concrete example of what is often defined as an operating as a team. Institution, businessmen united to achieve a common goal. It is rightful to recognize that the Italian government and the parliament have reacted very quickly to the piracy emergency. Here again, I had a meeting with the Ministry of Defense in May. In end of June, we had a decree permitting the use of armed teams on board ships, and by the 1st of August it was law, which I don't know in your countries, but in this country is quite an achievement. I mean, unfortunately, this is not always the case on everything. As I said at the last AGM, the shipping sector is trapped into an outdated and legislative system. Of course, I'm talking about Italy here. This is a situation which has been lasting for too long. It's enough to recall that as early as 1972, my father was in my position today, and he was already blaming the government exactly of the same thing. Now, from 1972, we are in 2011, and we are still facing the same problems. So, and this is, unfortunately, a problem where even the goodwill of a good civil servant is at risk because himself is trapped by a system of rules which is only delaying facts and of course, is against the competitiveness of our industry. And unfortunately, I have to say that there are two bills which are being produced by Confitarma, which are sitting in the Parliament since 2 mandates. Each mandate is 5 years, so we are talking about 10 years, and we didn't yet achieve anything on this, unfortunately. In fact, the excessive bureaucracy of the system is a factor of competitive weakness, especially in markets which obey to logic going well beyond of national ones. The current phase of the crisis in which Italy is floundering, after all in a context of general crisis, oblige the government to adopt stabilization measures and measures to relaunch competitiveness with structural reforms to be adopted in the short term. While until the outbreak of the financial crisis in 2008, the high level of freights allowed to offset inefficiencies, today, after two world economy and financial crises, the watershed between competitiveness and exclusion from the markets has thinned to such point that even the minimum advantage results is imperative. And we have this already with sovereign debt and the bank situation. So even on shipping is coming down to that. I mean, markets, they don't look at us saying you are bureaucrat, you are efficient or you are inefficient. If you are inefficient, we are going to penalize you. Do you like it or not? The lack of competitiveness, it has, of course, an inevitable repercussion on the whole country in terms of employment and loss of know-how. This is the reason why appropriate emphasis should be laid on the results of today's conference, so that, besides us operating in this sector, also politicians can understand the importance of urgently providing new momentum to the policy designated to update maritime rules and regulations. So, Mr. Laura, I hope that from the results of today's conference, we can come up with a good and strong message of where are our weaknesses and what we should be doing in the future. And this is something I'm expecting from you. While being certain that concrete debate will be held today on these complex issues of sea transport, not only from the theoretical, but from a more an operational point of view, I wish you all a very good work for today, and I do apologize that I cannot stay with you the whole day. Thank you very much.